Hey, Joe Gilder here from HomeStudioCorner.com. Most of my videos about PreSonus Studio One are raving, right? I'm a fan, obviously, and they sponsor Home Studio Corner, so that's cool too, but that doesn't mean I don't bring you some of the stuff that bothers me. So let me show you one thing that I think is both cool and awful. It's a feature called, I believe it's called Auto Volume. So let me set it up here. First, I'll show you where it's awesome. Then I'll show you where it's awful. So, okay, we'll start right there. So here is the Pro EQ, stock EQ plugin that's great. Comes with Studio One. You'll see down here at the gain, next to the output gain knob, is a little auto button. And that allows, it basically tells the plugin to make up for any gain differences that I might cause with my EQ moves. So for example, in the old days, before this cool technology, if you wanted to do a big boost in the low end, if you look at the output here, that creates a lot of extra volume, right? At that point, we're clipping something. So if that was the sound that sounded right to you, you had to come over here and turn that output gain down. Ideally, the before and after would be roughly the same level, and you try to level match that as best you can. On the flip side, let's say you had to remove a lot of mid-range. Well, that's going to decrease the volume, so you'd have to come over here and increase it back up. And so that was all a manual thing, kind of done by ear, no really precise way of doing it. Well, with this auto button, some of the guesswork has been taken out of it. It will automatically adjust the volume based on what EQ that you're using. So for example, we'll just look at it visually before I let you hear it. If I pull this down, watch the volume over here as I bring down this EQ. It's kind of stayed the same. If I turn auto off, look, it drops way down there. Looking at the average level. Turn it back on and it's compensating. Same thing if I go over here to this boost and I'm boosting way up here in the stratosphere. Well, guess what? It's trying to compensate for that a little bit. If I turn off auto, look, it's way up here. Turn on auto and it's compensating for that and trying to give you basically a level matched output regardless of what you're doing. Now where it's really cool is where you'll hear it the most is here. So I'll turn it back up. And with auto turned on, listen to how the volume of this whole track pretty much stays the same as I do these EQ moves, which allows you to hear what the EQ sounds like instead of hearing it being louder or softer with the adjustments that you're making. And that's important. You want to base it on the fact that you're making a good decision, not the fact that you just made it louder or quieter. So here's what that sounds like. Now, I'm not going to demonstrate what that would have sounded like if auto was off, but it would have hurt your ears, especially when I got down here and did this. It would have been boom, 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 doom, 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 doom. It would have just sounded awful, and you would have been angry with me. I don't want you to be angry with me, and I don't think PreSonus does either, which is why they put this auto button here. My only complaint about the auto feature on the EQ is that it's too sensitive when you start using a high-pass filter. Yes, we're removing a lot of information, but it turns things up too much. Here's what I'm talking about. You might think it's better. I requested that they fix that in version 3, and they did, so never mind. The auto feature on the EQ is stellar. In the past, in version 2, I think, or a version of version 2, when you brought this up, the volume just spiked a lot. It was like it knew it was removing a bunch of energy, and so it turned all this up more, and it ended up being lopsided and wonky. So that's cool that that's a new feature. Hey, I discovered that today. That's exciting. The place where I don't use auto is in the compressor. And this one I checked with the new version of version 3, and they haven't fixed this, or at least the way I would like to use it. Here's the way I like to use a compressor. I'll hit play. You don't need to hear it for me to show you this. So I turn the threshold down, and I see, okay, I'm compressing, and it's peaking out around 8 or 9 dB. So between that information and just looking at these input and output meters, I want the output to match the input for the same reasons that I mentioned before. So I turn it up to where those average lines are a little closer together. There you go. So that ended up being about 7 dB to match them input and out. So if I turn this on and off, you'll hear it's roughly the same volume. Where are you from? Now, the compression is doing its thing. It sounds different, but it's roughly the same volume, which is what we're going for, something roughly the same. So in theory, I would expect this auto button to do that for me, to basically look at the input and match the output gain so that we have a consistent level whether the compressor is on or not. Unfortunately, that's not how it works. You press auto and just watch the meter here. It automatically jumps up. I don't know if it's automatically turning it up as loud as it can without clipping. Survey says over here it doesn't. So you can see I've got auto turned on on a compressor on my master fader, and it is pushing the level up so loud that I am clipping my main output. That is a completely useless feature. I get they're maybe going for maximum volume, but they should know. PreSonus, this is my call to you. You should know that maximum volume is almost never your friend in this situation, especially if the volume can then clip once it goes past this limiter. So the way I think it's designed to work is you turn on auto, and as you bring the threshold down, you get more compression and you also get more volume. But that's not what you want, because that's going to be clipping. And besides, when you bypass, I'll turn it way down so you can hear. The before and after are completely different volumes. It's useless. So I don't mean to be all negative, but I never use this feature on the compressors for that reason. The good news is, though, they've provided you with input and output meters, so you can visually do it in a couple of seconds, so it's not a huge deal, but you have to do it every time you make an adjustment to your compressor. So if it's playing here, I can quickly, like I did before, that's about right. That looks close enough, great. But if I go over here and I bring my threshold down and get more compression, well, now they might not be balanced. Okay, this one's a little lower. I have to up that again. So it makes me have to do more than one move. So if that auto worked the way I would design it to work, then this would be a fantastic feature. It currently does not. If they fix that, I'll make it a point to come back and add a video explaining that it's been fixed and they've repented and all is well in the world. But until then, I would use the auto button on the EQ and not on the compressor. Capiche? Great. All right, thanks for watching this video. I'm Joe from homestudiocorner.com/PreSonus. Head there to sign up to get more free videos all about PreSonus Studio One. Thanks a lot. See ya.